Yeah. Here it goes. It's going up. So here it is. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sustainiacs. I'm Mike Vincent. I'm always a Sustainiac. And to discover other Sustainiacs, just kind of by accident, because here's Cydian Kauffman, who is, we just met like 5 minutes ago, literally. Well, 8.5 minutes ago, right? And we're still trying to figure out, is he Grand Poobah, co-owner, co-founder, whatever it happens to be. But it's Pure Water Northwest, right? Is the company, is the entity. And dude, welcome to the show. And I can't wait to discover who the hell you are, why you are, and what you're doing, man. What's up?
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm one of the owners. I own the company 50/50, and our job, I mean, our entire business is trying to fix water. We company started about a decade ago, a little more than a decade ago.
Okay.
And it kind of started as a response to pretty bad water science being used in water treatment. Chris founded it. He is a kind of a world-class water expert, and he did not like how the water treatment industry was doing things. So he started the company. I came in about 6 years ago. And our company is not just trying to handle water locally, like because we're in Washington State, and we
Okay.
focus, we we don't don't focus in the middle. We focus very locally, and then we also take some of our money and we help in well projects in other places as well. So we consult
Other places like internationally, or in other places in
like
Northwest, in the
third
Pacific
third
Northwest.
world countries where they need help designing and setting up systems.
Gotcha. So
Where,
like New Jersey.
yeah,
just
exactly.
kidding. Just kidding.
So, yeah, I mean, water is really interesting. I could talk on and on about it. I don't want to absorb all the air here, though. But
Well,
uh,
we want to absorb. I mean, as much as the people will listen to, we want to absorb and educate them on what is going on. It's really interesting to me because of all the places where, uh, I mean, there's a lot of places in the United States and really across around the world where I would say, wow, somebody there's got it is really working on how to clean up the water.
yeah,
Washington State and the PNW would not be it to me, just because I see it and I've been there. I've visited hundreds of times, literally, and it seemed to me like you'd have pretty good clean water there, and it like wouldn't be an issue for people to think of.
yeah. You say that
So what?
because
And I mean, the question is really, what? So 10 years ago, why'd you go? Oh, water.
yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you, water is it's a molecule, right? The H2O, and
Hmm.
it's a polar element, so it is good at attracting basically everything that it comes in contact with. So if it comes in contact with arsenic, it's going to pull in arsenic. If it comes in contact with iron, it's going to pull in iron. Whatever water touches, it gets some of it. Does that make
So
sense?
yeah, so a normal human being would say it dissolves in water. Things dissolve in water easily, and they become then buoyant in that water.
That's right. So what you find is certain areas have really obvious water problems, and that is geographic. That is a thing that is interesting to the geography of that area. So certain areas like the Midwest, you're going to have so much hardness that you have scale buildup, and that's because of the lime and mineral deposits that are present there.
Yeah,
Out
absolutely. I had a friend who moved to Michigan, and they had to put in water softeners and all that kind of stuff in
exactly.
central Michigan. Yeah, gotcha.
And so in our area, we actually have a shocking amount of arsenic. I don't know if you know the history of
Is
arsenic.
that from the? Is that from? Well, I mean, yeah, the whole. Oh no, that was hemlock. I was going to say yeah, forget it. No, go ahead.
Yeah, the amount of arsenic is not above the legal level, and I'll go into the legal level versus the health level in a second. But the history of arsenic, I don't know if you've looked into it, but arsenic
Mm-mm.
was used to be used to kill people because it's flavorless.
Right.
and odorless, and it's not really detectable until they learned how to chop up your liver, burn it, and then suspend it in a solution. They couldn't figure out you had been killed from arsenic. So
That
the
okay, so that's kind of disgusting, but that's how they figure it out.
yeah, exactly. So the yeah, so basically arsenic, because even though we can't like see the problems in the water in this area, there is some problems in the water in this area.
So
Well, one,
is it a natural phenomenon or is it a man-made
it's
phenomenon?
natural. There's some man-made stuff in this area for sure, but
Sure.
arsenic's on the periodic table and it occurs
Yeah.
naturally. Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like in the problem that you're describing in your geographic area is a naturally occurring phenomenon.
correct. It is more natural than
Gotcha.
man-made.
Oh wow. Wow. Okay, so
Yeah,
continue. I just wanted to see what the because this isn't like another love canal in Buffalo. If you remember that whole fiasco.
I do. The so obviously people have lead in their water, and that usually is man-made. That is from the older pipes, usually, or
Yeah,
fitting.
lead pipes. Who knew?
Yeah, exactly. And so when we come across these problems, people are looking at their water and it's a crystal clear glass, and we tell them, look, you can choose whatever level of contaminant you want to drink. You can drink some or none or whatever you want, but we just recommend you find out. So we recommend testing. That's basically, and it's not sexy. It's kind of boring, but it's the reality is if you just confront your water, if you look at it and say, let's find out what's really in my water at my house, then
Mm.
you can decide what you want to do about it.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, right? Because a one size fits all doesn't make any sense. And it can make sense because of marketing. Because we could convince people that anything makes sense through the proper marketing and enough money thrown at it, right? But what
Yeah,
you're saying is just way too common of sense to go, look, your water is not the same water as somewhere else, right?
right.
It just isn't because I don't know that a lot of people understand just how um, I guess uncontained the water systems are that you're coming through your tap
Oh, yeah.
water. I mean, it's pretty. It's like cage free or range chicken, right?
No, it's true. You can there you'll drive through a neighborhood and there will be a tall fence. And if you get up and climb up on the fence and look over, you'll see a giant reservoir of water. And you're like, birds are pooping in this water. What's going on here? And that's your water that you're
That's
drinking.
your water. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah.
they clean it. I'm not trying to bad talk the municipalities. They do really good work considering what they're up
No, no,
against.
no, they do, but there is containment and there is clean and there is science and there's actual engineering behind it, but it's not coming from this pristine,
Correct.
lab. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
coming from the earth. It's coming
it's
from
coming from the earth, no matter what you do about it, right?
exactly. It's either in the ground and pulled up, or it's from the sky and captured. That's it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I learned a little bit about that starting in a job years and years and years ago when I started to visit New York City more and more often. I understood that New York City tap water is some of the best tap water on the planet, and it's as far as taste, and it's also the secret to the bagels.
Oh, really?
That's a
That's
secret.
interesting. They
It's a
must have.
secret, and the pizza dough and everything else. So I learned that from a guy actually in Coral Springs, Florida. He was from New York City, and he started a company called Pizza Time, which is a terribly stupid name. But you walk in there, and it's like you walked into New York City. I mean, they're swearing and yelling at you, and get that freaking pizza out here, Goomba, and all this kind of stuff, right? But that was a shtick that they did. But what he did is he created a filtration system that mimicked the New York City municipal water as best he could for his pizza dough, and it made the pizza fantastic.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that is
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So, wow, that is really neat. I bet I bet honestly that they just make the water a little low in minerals and a little higher in alkalinity.
whatever the source is all coming from the Hudson River Valley, and so it's the source of the water, and then whatever their treatment is that water's at. It's like I've been told, you go to New York City and buy bottled water, you are obviously a tourist because you don't know what you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
Right, because their water is so good. Anyways, let's get back to what you guys are doing. So, all right, so you're explaining the arsenic issue that is there. Was that what caused you 10 years ago to go, look, water, we got to clean this up? Or tell
It's
me the
not.
story, dude.
Yeah. Actually, I was a property manager for like 20 years,
Yeah.
and I was I guess a weird property manager because when cus- when tenants would complain, I would take it really seriously, and so
So you were that one guy who cared.
I was that guy.
you're
And
you're the only one stressing at night.
I would go to like I would have some customers who had like their water smelled like rotten eggs. And
Mm.
I knew nothing about water at the time. I know now that that's just a hydrogen sulfide gas, which occurs in anaerobic environments and can be because of plumbing or can be because of the source of the water. So, but
Yeah, well,
at
the
the
food
time,
you eat can exacerbate that as well.
at the time, all I knew was they were literally drawing water from their sink, and it smelled like rotten eggs.
Yeah.
And so I went to the owner, and they said, "Okay, do a test." So we did a test, and we came back with the results, and it was all within legal levels. And I was like, how can this smell this bad and be this disgusting to drink and be legal? Like they can't, they have kids, their kids are bathing in like smelly bath water. They have to drink that water. They're not very, they don't have a lot of money. They can't really afford to buy bottled water all the time, right?
And not specifically not to bathe in.
Exactly.
That'd
But
be one expensive bath.
the owner was like, and I won't like obviously say who this owner is, but the owner
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, that, well, if it's legal, I'm not doing anything about it. And
Right.
so that just got to me. And so I actually reached out to Chris. I mean, I chose him at random. I reached out to Chris, and he kind of explained that the EPA sets two standards for water. Um, and they have to do this. I'm not bad talking the EPA, but they
Yeah.
set two
Okay.
standards for water. One is the MCL, maximum contaminant level. That's the legal level, and that's
Okay.
here. And then the MCLG, which is the health level. MCLG stands for maximum contaminant level goal. So for arsenic, for example, the legal level is zero point zero 0.01 parts per million. You're allowed to have zero point zero 0.01 parts per million legally. The
Mm.
health level is 0 for arsenic,
There's
set by the
no arsenic.
no arsenic is healthy. The health level, the goal level, which is the health guideline, which says it right on the EPA website. That's the health level, and they say on the website that the legal level, the MCLG, is the allowable amount which is feasible to be reached by municipalities, basically based on economic considerations. And what that's saying in simple terms is
This is
the
as clean as we can get it for the money.
exactly, yep, yeah. So
In other words, so is it as nefarious as it sounds, or is it just like, look, it's just not feasible to get any cleaner than this?
it is not feasible. I mean, there's if more money was put into this, we could get it, they could get it cleaner, obviously. But
Yeah.
that's money would have to be put into it. So the EPA definitely gets feedback from their municipalities. They get reports on everything they do. They understand what the municipalities are doing, and they are setting a standard based on the best that, in their opinion, the best that the municipalities can do. And there's a ton of stuff they don't even have standards for. Like they only did a standard for forever chemicals last year in April.
Mm.
Um, they still don't have a very good standard for chromium 6, the Aaron Brockovich chemical.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's right. I've read that recently, actually.
yep. Dioxane, pharmaceuticals and hormones, bisphenol A, microplastics, percolates, all of these flame retardants, like they don't have good standards for any of these things that do show up in people's water. So
Is that because a lot of that is fairly recent, a fairly recent anomalies, or have these things been proliferating through our water for years and years and years? How much of it is just growth in the toxins? And
how do you want to define recent? Because
well, okay, that's a good point. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking in my lifetime, like when I was a kid in the '80s, we were still well. When I was growing up in the '70s, I think we were still eating lead paint.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're thinking in terms of that, then yes, it's recent.
Yeah.
Like we've known about forever chemicals for decades.
Okay.
They were invented in like the 40s and 50s, and um, for their fire foams and Teflon and Gore-Tex, that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, yeah, but how long has it taken for those things to make it through the discovery and we've known about and we start using them to get to the point now to where they're in such quantities in the environment enough that they're really impacting our water? That has had to been a lag of
Yep,
a bit, right?
absolutely. There was a lag. I mean, we started noticing in the 80s. Whistleblowers started calling out in the late 90s. We started getting very clear evidence of PFAS in the 2000s. So, I mean, I guess it took the EPA 20 years.
Wow. So let me ask you this though before it gets lost. This is really interesting. The rabbit holes are many and very close together, and they're very all of them. Every one of them is interesting as hell. But when you look at the when you said okay, there was the legal limit and then there was the goal or the health limit, right?
Yeah.
What is the implication of that as far as me drinking my water? Is the legal limit healthy for me, or is it healthy enough that only a certain percentage of people are going to be negatively impacted,
The,
or everybody's only going to be impacted to a certain level, and that's okay, but we'd really prefer it to be here? Do we have evidence of that, or I mean,
okay,
or
I'm gonna answer your question generally, and then I'm
yeah,
gonna get but being aware that my general answer does not speak to everything specifically perfectly accurately.
right, 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 right.
Generally speaking, that it is pretty okay. It's okay for most people. I tell a story. I will give two examples of what I'm talking about. I tell a story of a couple that we helped. They actually had cancer. What the husband? He was a big guy. He was fit, big, and he had cancer because of arsenic and
Mm,
in his drinking water. And so we helped fix their drinking water. His wife was a very like half his size. They had both been drinking the same water. She had no health issues at all. So despite being, half his mass and drinking the same amount of water that he did, she did not have any health issues. So it is not super clear to me what would cause arsenic to give you cancer, for example, or to kill you or whatever.
so it
Um,
could be a predisposition, or it could be just the way your body metabolizes and processes, right?
exactly. It could also
Yeah,
be bad luck. It could be that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that little bit of arsenic is bound to the water molecule. It comes down and it happens to be pulled off into your bloodstream and goes and attaches itself to just the wrong cell, which then metastasizes. Or I mean, normally arsenic is not like causing cancer. It's normally causing an organ failure, but in this case, it was apparently the cause of his cancer. So, um,
Yeah, so
yeah,
it's a random. It's yeah, it could possibly, like you said, just bad luck, just random.
exactly. So I'm sure that the EPA based it off of statistical data, medical
Yeah.
statistical data. There's also emerging in information. Manganese, for example, was considered a class two contaminant, a not very serious contaminant. We know now that too much manganese can give you Parkinson's-like symptoms and cause nervous system issues. And
Mm,
so it's being debated right now or talked about right now to turn it into a class one contaminant. We treat it in our company when we see manganese over a certain amount, we tell the customer this so that they can make an informed decision. But
yeah.
without the standard being like set established quicker that it's a more important contaminant, people don't know about it.
And these are this now. When you start talking about manganese and some of the, you get into some of the other rare earth and that type of stuff. Now, these the proliferation of use is certainly desired because I mean, manganese is an EV battery type of mineral, is it not?
I don't actually know that. Is it?
I
That's
believe.
interesting.
I
Okay.
believe it's. I believe it is. I could be wrong, but the point isn't manganese. The point is we are using more and more rare earth minerals and rare earth metals,
Right.
etc., and trying to use more and more of them. And we don't know in 50 years if that's going to really screw up whatever supply it is: water, food, air.
Yeah.
Uh, we don't know.
Yeah. It'll
Those
get
are
in. Anything that's used will get into the water supply. I mean that.
it'll get there. I mean, and hopefully less and less as we build better and more well managed landfills. I mean, the
Right.
landfills today aren't just to throw it in there and throw some soda ash over it like Diamond Shamrock did in Fairport Harbor,
Yeah.
which is you know. I happen to know personally because I used to work in the roadway facility that was
Oh.
built on top of one of the sludge pools.
Wow.
Yeah, we sold that land real cheap.
Oh my. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, we don't do that type of stuff anymore. But it's still dangerous stuff, man. Because
Yeah.
leachate is real and it's happening right now. And it may not be nefarious in nature. Nobody's trying to kill any. Well, there are attempts, I would imagine, especially with something like arsenic. But these are just things that we need to be aware of, right? And
Yeah.
and then
For sure.
yeah. So are you purely doing this? And no pun intended. But is your focus the testing or prevention or
Uh,
both?
for both, but we do the testing to do the prevention. Everything we do is customized. So we we're very different actually as a water treatment company goes because in order to have a good business model, you have to have a product. But we cannot have a product except for a couple rare cases. We mostly can't have preset products because the water has to be tested first, and then we have to design the product around the water.
I mean, and we're getting there, right? Because really, we've only discovered the fact that you guys go in and test the water.
Yeah.
So let's keep going down the road,
Okay.
man, because
So then,
eventually we got
yeah,
to figure out why am I going to call Pure Water Northwest except to, and when should I, and all that other kind. We got to discover all that kind of stuff and learn about water purity as we go. So, okay, you've tested it. So tell me, what are you guys doing from
yeah.
there?
So as soon as we test it, and look at test results, either by us testing it or us being able to get our hands on whatever tests do exist already, because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't need to pay money for testing because it's been done already. We just find it. So as soon as we get full test results, and I mean very complete, most people test for about 5 or 6 different things. We like to test for about 50 to 100
So,
different
so, so
things.
people. So, are you saying people can give you third-party testing and you can design stuff for them? Okay, got it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
We don't need to be the only one to do it for
Got it.
sure.
Got it. Got it.
As long as it's accurate testing, and then we design based on the testing. So, and the reason we need such extreme testing is, let's say you have silica, for example, or a few other elements that will bind to the media that's used to clean the water first, making it so the media is not as good as cleaning the water. So by doing really thorough testing, we can have pretty foolproof systems that we put in. Then we design a system, we send an estimate to the customer, and as long as they like the price, they approve it. Then we get the equipment, build it, and then we install it for them.
Gotcha. So it's all custom designed stuff. I'm
Yeah.
not walking into Walmart and going, "Oh, hey, there's my new buddy Cydian's water filter for my Samsung refrigerator. I'm going to put it in there." That's not the case.
It's 90% customized, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So, are you doing private customers, or are you doing multi housing and municipalities and that type of stuff?
We can handle anything anyone throws at us. We are doing mostly residential at this point.
Oh, okay.
I, I am taking it on myself to try and expand us into commercial. We've
Gotcha.
done a bunch of work for the Navy. We've done government contracts before. We've done
Oh,
commercial
really?
contracts. Yeah, but we do 90. I would say our customer base is 85 to 90% residential.
I got you. So, are you guys into things like desalinization and that type of thing as
Yeah,
well?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I figured you would be. I mean, it's right up your alley, right? I mean, that's just another element you got to get out of the
For
water,
sure.
right?
I mean, our reverse osmosis technology was basically built on desalinization, and we do reverse osmosis all the time. So anything that anything that can, anything that needs to be cleaned, we can clean. The we actually reached out to the red the thing that's happening in Hawaii. I'm not going to be able to remember it off the top of my head, but Chris actually reached out to that issue that's happening in Hawaii right now, where they have like water. Uh, Something with the military had a some jet fuel get into the water supply, and so it's a lot of VOCs and jet fuel that got into the water supply in a spot in.
Oh yeah, look at that. There it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The petroleum leak into civilian on Oahu.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep, yep,
We
yep.
reached out to them to try and help them with solving that too, and we didn't get very far. But it's really easy
Been
to
going
solve.
on for 4 years, bro.
I know it's so easy to solve. I don't know why they're not just solving it. Like it's kind of crazy to me. There's people there suffering. Like there's a Facebook group where they're talking about having like burns on their skin from taking a shower and showing pictures of their kids breaking out in hives and stuff like that. And they're
Yeah, I
not
can't
solving.
imagine showering in jet fuel is really good for people with sensitive skin.
Yeah.
Do
So
not use if you have sensitive skin or are irritated.
I know exactly.
May cause vomiting, diarrhea, and
Yeah.
and rashes. Wow, that's crazy. So are so the residential. I mean, it's got to be fairly reasonably priced. I would imagine. So are you utilizing and engineering different third party products to create the perfect system depending on my water? Is that
Yeah.
what
I
you're
mean,
doing?
a water treatment system has a tank to hold
Uh
media.
huh.
Any random water treatment system, right? It's going to have a tank to hold media. The
Yeah.
media is going to be there's hundreds of different kinds of media, so we have to choose the right media for the water. Then we
Gotcha.
put the media in the tank with the correct amount of filtration inside it, so that it is not just the media; it actually has space to move, and then we have a valve on top that controls the water flow, and that's it. We can if the
So the
water.
media, the amount of filtration, et cetera, is all customized by you, and you're. I got you.
Yeah, yep, pretty
Wow,
much.
that's really cool. How come you guys haven't been on Shark Tank?
We're not okay. This is the only thing that's rare about our company is the fact that we take the extra time and work to make sure we're customized, and a few other companies in the country are doing that, but there's
Yeah,
hundreds of water treatment companies that are selling systems like this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
but they're just not customized. They're product based. Product based just means they're pre built, and so the customer complains about something, and very often without any testing we say, yeah, we can solve that with this, and that's not a very
Just
good
based
way.
on the anecdotal evidence, they're guessing that this is probably your issue.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And
Gotcha.
that
And
can
you're being very specific. Like, do
the
this.
reason is because if you put in a softener, for example, to help people with their feeling of hardness on their skin and hair, and that's
Is
not
it?
to be
Is it? Aren't they just adding salt to it?
the salt is not very little salt actually gets into the water,
Okay.
because the salt is just used to clean the media that pulls out the hardness.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right.
Yeah. So the hardness is pulled out by this media. And that's true. It'll make the water soft, and it matters to some people. My daughter has eczema, and the eczema is helped by soft water.
Right.
Um, and so it really matters to some people. We had this customer in Federal Way who had rosacea constantly, and we put in our system, we had to put in a system that helped with both hardness and chlorides, but for her rosacea went away. So a simple softener can help, but if you have arsenic, the arsenic can build up in the softener and then release in large amounts. So if you are not
Oh,
exactly, it is possible to make matters worse by not doing complete testing.
yeah. I mean, and that is an issue with just about everything in life, right? Is the unintended consequences,
Exactly.
the boomerang effects that we don't think of when we just jump
Yeah.
towards something, right? Which is
Yep.
a lot of yeah. How much do you deal with that is natural as opposed to man-made issues?
I would say the majority of what we deal with is natural, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
But we have about 20% probably where we identify that the source was man made. And that would be your petroleum, that would be your pesticides, nitrates, stuff like that. Um,
Mm, mm, mm.
but yeah, when we come across that, like just yesterday, a guy did a test on his water and he wants extremely clean water. And he, he he's hoping to have his water be structured, which is a whole thing. Um, but
Designer? Are we talking about designer water?
yeah, basically, and
Really?
he
Really?
wants it for his whole community. And it turns out he actually had a petroleum product in his well,
Oh
which
wow.
is really weird because he's in the middle of nowhere. Um, but
Hmm.
it's
Yeah, because
easy.
that was going to be my one of my other questions was well versus city.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah. I
see
mean,
a
we do
big
a
difference there?
we do a ton of well water.
I,
We do a ton
I
of
was
well.
going to say, is that the most of the people? Is it the well water
Well,
over
yeah,
like city provided?
in this area, yeah. So if you were in Florida, for example, the hardness is so high that in the city water that people notice the problem, and the chlorine is so high. So they
Yeah. Oh
pull
yeah.
water from their tap and they're like, "This smells awful. It
Oh,
feels
it is awful. It is awful. Yeah, I lived there.
awful."
I lived there.
And
It's
so in
terrible.
Florida, the majority of people have city water water treatment.
Hmm.
In our area, yeah, it's more well water. The Seattle area has a 2 hardness on average, and the chlorine level is not that high. They Seattle water particularly is not that bad. There's definitely stuff
Mm.
we can help people with, but if you're healthy, you go and drink Seattle water all day long, you're fine.
Mm.
You go a little bit further to the east in the middle part of Bellevue or Redmond, and they've got arsenic in their water. If you go even further east into Sammamish, they've got PFAS in their water. So, like the municipalities in this area, it really depends on where you are.
Wow. I mean, it can change that fast because when you see Seattle, the towns or cities that you just mentioned,
Are really close.
most people like me consider them Seattle.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
but you're talking Seattle proper, and then
exactly.
the little cities within it, right in the metro region, metro area. It can change that fast.
That's right.
That is that's absolutely well. So are you? So you said okay. So this is extremely local stuff, right? But then you
Yeah,
say you're working in third world countries as well. Is that a separate effort, or is it the same thing,
it's
or
a
are you
separate effort. We basically just offer our expertise.
okay?
So here's what happens. This is a really interesting thing to me, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but I'm kind of excited about this. If
Yeah,
you
cool.
if you have if you're let's say your interest is empowering women around the world or empowering children around the world, right? um,
Yeah.
you you will be shocked at how much access to water matters for that, because if you don't have water in near as a water source near where your community is, you cannot um, you cannot live unless you go and get the water. Culturally, a man will not go and get the water. He'll just let you go thirsty, right? So it's going to be on the woman or the child to go and get the water. And this is like, it's self perpetuating, it's cultural as well as whatever it is, right? But it means that if you are walking 4 hours one way to get water and 4 hours back, you cannot work, you can't go to school, you can't get educated. It forces you to be fully reliant on the man to get all of your income. So just putting in a well into that community opens up the possibility of equality. So, but when they drill the well and pull the water up, sometimes they'll call us and say, so here's what our water is. What should we put in? And then we help design it for them for free. Um, we can go out there and help them in person too, but usually it's not needed. It's just our expertise on exactly what to design is all that's needed.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. Those are that is incredibly interesting because there are books that I've read before, like Deep Dive is one of them, which is a marketing book, which is it goes through many of the cultural discoveries that occurred through trying to sell consumer goods to countries outside of the U.S. and third party and or third world countries, and discovering that our preconceived notions as to the benefits of a product are
Yeah.
so way off, so
Right.
way off
Right.
in many cases, right? Like
Yeah. Like
this,
there's a trickle.
empower women by having clean water is not something anybody would go, well, yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It absolutely is, but it's really enlightening and eye opening and a very important point. Way past its obvious empowering women through it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's an eye opener. Everybody in any business needs to go. Whatever you're making, it doesn't matter. Tea or paper clips or whatever. Your product is perceived and has benefits way beyond what you think it does,
Right.
in different and negatives, right? Negative impacts way beyond what you think it does. And understanding those is incredibly important. I mean, that's a massive point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I know it. When I, when I realized the trickle down effects of having water near you, it was just like, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. So it is incredibly important.
Yeah, well, I mean, once you discover that, and now that we're talking about it, it's incredible. It's such a basic, obvious thing, and those are the really impactful, positive things, right? The ones where afterwards you go, "Wow, that's really base."
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the ones that have the biggest impacts,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that is amazing. So do you push that? Do you advertise that as far as is that effort that you're going towards, or you're just assisting others that are doing this and they know that you're out there?
Some of them know. I'll tell you the truth. I'm really bad at one of my own failures is advertising. I have to pay a company to advertise for me just locally because I don't really know how to advertise. I don't really know how to promote myself or my business very well.
Yeah, but that's okay as long as you realize that. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't realize that, and then they try and do it, and that's why they fail. If you realize, look, this is my expertise in this company, I got to get somebody else to do this.
That's
That's
right.
that,
Yep.
that's all right. That's fine.
So yes, I let companies know Ryan's Wells, for example. My wife happens to have grown up with the guy who owns Ryan's Wells, so we reached out to him and offered this to him. And there are other well companies other companies that do this. A company was going down just before COVID, so it became really difficult for them to complete this project, but they were going down to South America to help a community that had a really awful infant mortality rate because of the water there. And we helped them. So we don't really advertise that we do this very much, but we offer it to people and I reach out to people and offer it.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of consultative people that would need to have that as just another, arrow in their quiver, so to speak. And
Exactly.
that's really how to get out. Billboards around, Guatemala are not going to make it happen.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to go to the nonprofits who are doing this basically.
Yeah, exactly. Right,
And so,
right,
yeah,
right.
that's what we do. We send them an email basically and offer it for free.
Yeah, I got you. That's fantastic, dude. It is fantastic. So I've got a sense of it, brother. I mean, our time flies by so quickly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing, but really, really interesting and very, very cool stuff, Cydian. I really, really appreciate you coming on. Who needs to? How do they get in touch with you?
Oh, I appreciate you asking that. If they want to reach us, they just go to the website purewaternorthwest.com, and through there you can send a message through the portal. There's our email on there. They could send me a personal email, Cydian@purewaternorthwest.com. Whatever, there's a phone number on there. So we're easy to reach.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic, brother. I really appreciate it, man. And man,
Yeah.
I'd love to learn and maybe discuss more about things occurring around the world as you guys go through it. You guys, there's some other questions that I'll ask you off air.
Okay. No problem. No
But
problem.
and maybe we'll get into a whole nother series at a different time. But it's
Cool.
fantastic, dude. And I love your background, dude. Is that one of the latest ones that you can throw up? That they're
Yeah. The messy garage background. Yeah.
yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's my new favorite background. Yeah.
I love it. Rather than the skyline of Seattle behind you that you normally have in your office, this is it's
Probably
fantastic.
should have put up a background, huh? Oh well.
No, 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 no. Don't worry about it, man. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. This is what this show is all about: is reality and stripping away the hype and talking real.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, brother. Hey, everybody, thank you for downloading and watching the Sustainiacs, and we'll be back again next time. This is my latest good buddy in water. His name is Cydian Kauffman, and it's purewaternorthwest.com. Check it out. It makes a ton of sense to me, man, and he's doing good work. I love it, brother. Peace and love.
Thanks, Michael.